So has injustice been done to Bilkis Bano? Have the convicts got away because they have political clout? Are the convicts released? Does the convicts release dent the Nari Shakti pledge of the Prime Minister at Red Fort? What explains the silence of most opposition parties on this issue and indeed the silence of the public? I'm joined by Shobha Gupta. She's been Bilkis Bano's lawyer for years. Pawan Khera is the Congress's chief spokesperson. Lalita Kumaramangalam, former chairperson, National Commission for Women with the BJP, and Sriraj Nair is the BHP's spokesperson. I want to come to you, Shobha Gupta, first. As the lawyer of Bilkis Bano, are you planning to file a judicial review against this? The very fact that the people who were convicted for life will now be in the same neighborhood as Bilkis Bano. Do you believe that this remission is bad in law? Will you go for judicial review or not?
The remission certainly is bad in law, completely contrary to the judgments of Supreme Court, central government circulars, everything, constitutional bench judgment, the exceptions which need to be seen, the factors which needed to be seen, but whether we are going to challenge or not is something we are still not sure.
But, you know, there will be those, Ms. Gupta, who will say, look, these convicts have served 15 years in jail, 14 years in jail, and therefore they are entitled under the Criminal Procedure Code to ask for remission, and that's what they did. Do you believe that this should be seen through a political lens, or should it be seen, as you are suggesting, that simply a bad interpretation of the law?
No, I'm saying this is non-application of mine completely. 1992 policy do not exist anymore. That is one. Two, I am not going into that political issue at all. As a lawyer, for me, this is a complete non-application of mine on the grossness of the crime. 5 gang rape, a pregnant lady gang raped, 14 murders. 5 courts of the country consistently upheld their conviction. What else you need? If this case, if the accused of this case can get remission, then I believe every single rape convict is going to now apply for remissions after 14 years.
So
and every murder convict then.
So you're saying this will set a precedent for all future cases where those who have been convicted for gang rape and murder will also seek remission?
No, I'm not saying precedent or not, but what I'm saying is if a remission can be exercised, can be granted in this case, then what are we talking? Then why not every single rape convict go and ask for remission? Every single murder convict should go and ask for remission. There's 14 murders, 5 gang rapes, a pregnant lady gang raped, a case where 450 pages judgment written by one court, 450 pages judgment written by another court. Supreme Court dismissed SLP, Supreme Court dismissed review petition. Justice Gogoi led last 3 judges bench judgment, highest compensation ever in the country in a rape case granted then. So a fight of this nature, the grossness of the facts, the way the whole crime was conducted. Can remission 14 years when the policy does not exist anymore? Supreme Court has time and again, the constitutional bench judgments have said, exceptions had to be seen in the matter of rape and murders. Remissions do not come as a matter of right.
Strong words there.
What are the factors looked into? Like, I am not saying they were not entitled to apply for remission. I'm not saying the government needed not to look into the application for remission. But where is application of mine? Do we grant remissions in such cases?
Very strong words from you, ma'am, and I hope that these words will echo, because you've had the, as I said, the Nirbhaya case, which was supposed to be a game changer, looking at the way the law looked at rape convicts. Let me now go to the politicians. I've heard from you and I appreciate that you joined us here at the very top. Let's go. First, you, Lalita Kumaramangalam, you've both been associated with the BJP. You're a former chairperson of the National Commission for Women. And I want to ask you, ma'am, very straightly, you heard what Ms. Gupta said, the lawyer. No, yes. The BJP itself has maintained silence, both in Ahmedabad and in Delhi. They're not officially commenting. The Prime Minister spoke of Nari Shakti at Red Fort. Where is the Nari Shakti while within an hour of what he speaks, the Gujarat government, after consulting the centre, because this is a CBI case, has remitted the sentence of these people involved in the most heinous crime?
First of all, Rajdeep, let me make one thing absolutely clear here. Whatever may be the politics or whatever blame may be placed on the BJP after I speak, I'm not here as a member of the BJP. I'm here as a woman activist who has worked for the last 32 years in, shouting from the rooftops that politics and women's activism or women's empowerment just don't go together. Over the last few months, we've seen that there has been a whole host of cases where, unfortunately, the law does not seem to have been properly applied. I'm not a practicing lawyer, but I agree with every word that Shobha Gupta ji just said, that on the part of the court, it doesn't look like they've applied themselves properly. And on the part of the committee that was set up by the Gujarat government, I am, and this is putting it extremely mildly, I'm bitterly disappointed. This rape was, every rape according to me is heinous, but this was a particularly heinous rape. And as pointed out by the honorable lawyer, every court upheld this conviction. This sort of action that has been taken really sets the tone, not just a precedent almost, that will be misused by every rapist who has any access to any of these high-faulting lawyers. Whether it is Bishop Franco Mulakkal, whether it was that boy in Hyderabad who was let off by the court, who was given bail by them saying that, oh, he needs his mother's permission. As if any rapists take their mother's permission. Whether it was the Supreme Court itself which said that a child rapist also has a life and gave him bail. Increasingly, we are seeing an insensitivity towards or desensitization of not only the courts.
So we've come,
society has
so
always
we've come a full circle from 2012.
Patriarchal.
In that sense, we've come a full circle from 2012 when there was that public outrage and protest. I'll come back to that in a moment.
Unfortunately, that's what seems to be happening.
Right.
And I condemn this totally. I'm not talking as a politician. I'm talking as a woman who genuinely has spent more than 30 years seeing how women get tossed around despite all the talk from perhaps people who may mean very well. But society and, the biggest people in society, whether it's in the judiciary or in politics or in activism or in anywhere, seem to fall short when push comes to shove. Nobody puts their money where their mouth is when it comes to women's rights and honor and respect of women.
Right. Let me take that in a way to Mr. Nair, because the Vishwa Hindu Parishad is garlanding these convicts. You are celebrating it in your party office. What is this, Mr. Sriraj Nair? What is the message you have sent out? It only confirmed what many believed, that the VHP was involved in 2002 very deeply in the rioting. But more worryingly, is this the message you want to send out? Is this what the VHP stands for? Garlanding convicts, for God's sake?
See, Rajdeep, first of all, when they have been released, they have every right to live as normal human beings. Now, what do you want them to do? Now, they also have families. They have been imprisoned for 14 long years. They have served their imprisonment and they have been let out by the lawmakers. And now, as I was listening to the madam who was a lawyer of...
Why should they be celebrated? They have every right to be released.
Who's celebrating?
Of course you are. You are garlanding them in the party office in Godhra.
Yes.
For what?
There is no see, that is basic. Now they have to start a fresh life. What do you want them to do? What do you want them to do? Now they also have a basic right of livelihood and living their normal life. They have to get back to their normal lives. Some kind of motivation has to be there. They have served imprisonment for 14 long years. So there is no question of any celebration there, but then definitely they have all the right to live a normal life and get back to normalcy.
Okay, you're saying this is normalcy to garland people who come out of jail?
We cannot do a media trial.
Yes.
There were people,
Go ahead, Mr. Nair,
see,
go ahead.
In many cases, where terror accused and convicted terrorists, the so-called people from the civil society, they have opened the courts in the midnight and asked for pardoning Yaqub Memon sort of people. And here these people have already served 14 long years, and it is the lawmakers who have decided. So Now let them get back to a normal life. That's
Okay.
what we believe. There's no question of celebration.
You believe that this is normal life to be garlanded at your VHP office, but Pawan Khera, the Congress party has picked up this issue. The fact though is there are no public protests or outrage like there was in the Nirbhaya case. Even many other opposition parties are silent. Nobody seems to want to even go back into what happened in 2002. Is this a hot potato in a way? Is the Congress party fighting a principled fight here for a woman, or is it because it's the Gujarat government and you can find a way maybe to involve Mr. Modi and Shah, because they will say it's procedural. They will say it's procedural. The Supreme Court asked the Gujarat government to review the case.
Rajdeep, first of all, my respect for Lalita ji. She spoke as a human being, she spoke as an Indian. We always fight on channels, but today I must compliment her on her stand. Rajdeep, there comes a time in the nation's history where such challenges are thrown at society to test the resilience, the robustness of what we really stand for. And this test is not just for me and you, or for the Prime Minister or the Home Minister. And I must thank you, Rajdeep. This is a second day consecutive. Yesterday I watched your debate, and I was happy at least someone in the media is raising this issue. Whether I belong to the Congress or not doesn't matter. If we don't speak today, the time for the nation to speak up is now, because we are indeed running out of time. And I'm glad Lalita ji spoke. This is a test for each one of us, for the opposition, for the Prime Minister, for the society. And I'm shocked at the silence of the society. The same society which forced us, and rightly so, to bring in tough laws when Nirbhaya happened under our watch. And I'm grateful to the media then, and grateful to the society, the civil society, all the activists, whether they support us or oppose us, doesn't matter. But they came out and forced us to change the law. Why this silence now? And I'm afraid, if the community of the victim matters, if the community of the perpetrators of the crime matters so much, where are we headed as a country? आप यह बात का जवाब मुझे दिलवाइए राजदीप सरदेसाई कि जो रेपिस्ट थे, they saw the community of the victim. Should the government see the community of the rapist? Isn't the state out there to protect society from criminals and rapists and murderers?
The government is saying that they have completed 14 years life imprisonment. They were entitled to remission under the law, or at least to apply for remission, and the government therefore in its wisdom has chosen to give them this remission. They say they followed procedure, that this is not the first case. It is possible to grant remission after 14 years, and they are citing the 1992 policy which says convicts can be released after completing 14 years in jail.
8th May 2013, that 1992 policy was abrogated by a government order. I shared that government order with journalists today at my press conference. What policy are we talking about when the policy doesn't exist? That policy has been replaced by 2014 MHA guidelines, which do not make such people eligible for remission. People who indulge in rapes, gang rapes, murder, terrorism, or any such heinous crime. I don't want to get into the technicalities. You had a good show yesterday with all the top lawyers of the country. Right now, what we are talking about is the collective consciousness dead. This is the answer I as a political activist want. I want this from my party, and my party stood by this. I'm glad, I'm grateful to my party that we showed courage in raising this issue. And that's my duty, that's our duty. But I'm shocked at the silence of the larger Hindi media, a lot of other channels. I'm shocked at the silence of the civil society. And I'm shocked, Rajdeep, that Teesta Setalwad and Sanjeev Bhatt are behind bars, and these rapists are walking free and being garlanded today. This is where our country is headed. If we don't stop this now, I'm sorry, we are over. We are dead. As a society, we are stinking. Full stop.
Before I come back to this debate, I just want to press the pause button, because there is a woman, Bilkis Bano, who was 21 years old when she was gang raped, remember. She saw 7 members of her own family among 14 who were killed in front of her eyes, including her 3.5-year-old child. Understand the gravity of what we are dealing with. I want to turn to an interview I did with her in 2017. I want you all to listen to it, to understand from the victim's perspective. Listen in for a moment.
15 साल में हमको बहुत दुख झेलना पड़ा। घर बदल, कितनी बार घर बदला हमने, और छोटे छोटे बच्चे को लेके सामान इधर उधर करो, बहुत सारी तकलीफें हमको हुई है।
और 15 साल में कभी ऐसा लगा आपको कि शायद मुझे न्याय नहीं मिलेगा, जिन्होंने मेरे खिलाफ ये अत्याचार किया है वो रिहा हो जाएंगे, वो बच जाएंगे? कभी ऐसा लगा कि सिस्टम जो है उसमें मेरे लिए कोई जगह नहीं है? कभी उम्मीद आपने छोड़ी थी?
नहीं, मैंने उम्मीद नहीं छोड़ी थी, क्योंकि हमारे इतने सारे, मेरे परिवार को मार दिया, मेरी बेटी को मार दिया, तो कैसे उम्मीद छूटेगी?
लेकिन अभी भी आप कहती हैं आपको बदला नहीं चाहिए था, आप नहीं चाहती थी कि जिन्होंने ये किया आपके खिलाफ, उन पर आप बदले की भावना से नहीं कर रहे थे, आपको केवल न्याय चाहिए था।
हाँ, न्याय चाहिए।
यानी क्या चाहिए था? कि ये लोग जेल में रहें,
हाँ।
उनको सजाए मौत हो, क्या चाहिए था?
वो लोग जेल में रहे, उनको ऐसा याद आवे कि आज हमारे गांव के लोग कितने परेशान थे और हमने कैसे कैसे मारा है माँ बहनों को, बच्चे को।
इन 15 सालों में आपने मुझसे अभी कहा कि आपको घर घर भटकना पड़ा।
हाँ।
एक घर से कितने घर बदलने पड़े?
बहुत घर घर बदलने पड़े, 15-20।
डर के मारे?
डर के मारे।
You know, Lalita Kumaramangalam, a woman is therefore going to find herself in the same neighborhood as the people who raped her. And this is the fear of remission at the moment. Not once have I heard from any of these 12 people, or 11 now, one of them has died, who were convicted, not one word of remorse ever. How do you then explain it?
That is the problem with people who are rapists. Unfortunately, the law this time, I don't know, like I say, I'm not a lawyer myself, but as a human being, as a woman, as a mother, as a grandmother, I'm at a loss of words, which is extremely rare with me, to understand how this has happened.
No, but why is nobody in your party, why is nobody in the BJP, sorry, why is nobody in the BJP then speaking up on it? You know, when we talk about this, otherwise these words like Nari Shakti ring hollow.
As I said, they should, Rajdeep, but as I said, nobody seems to be willing to put their money where their mouth is. And let me say personally, and this is, I feel this very strongly, you don't greet people who have come out on bail after 50 years, even if 14 years, 15 years, even if you call that a life sentence. It's not only callous and tasteless, it's also an insult to any sort of justice system anywhere in the world. The rape that happened, whatever the reason a person rapes, it is utterly, absolutely wrong, regardless of the person being raped. I don't care what religion they belong to, their age, their political affiliation, whatever else. Rape is rape.
Can I just take what you...
I don't know. Can I
just take, ma'am, what you've just said to Mr. Nair?
As the 2014 MHA guidelines have
yeah,
said,
let me just take what you've said.
Ma'am,
I take your point. A rape is a rape. Do not look at the identity. Just a minute, ma'am. I want to take this to Mr. Nair, because Mr. Nair, you know, for God's sake, you can defend and say that they are now entitled to a new life. Every sinner, people will say, is entitled to a new life. Fair enough. But the manner in which they have been greeted is sending out the image almost that you all have justified what happened 20 years ago, 20 saal baad. It doesn't. A rape is whichever community the person belongs to, the victim. You must stand up for the victim, not for the rapist. This is not Hinduism. This is not your, you say your Vishwa Hindu Parishad. Does Hinduism allow this? Is this Hinduism?
See, Rajdeep, kindly don't divert the issue. I have very categorically said there was no celebration as such. They came out. They have their own families. What do you want? They have released the law. They have all the.
Not one word of remorse.
To be released. They were released. Now what do you want? They want to be killed. They want.
Not one word of remorse.
They were convicted. They served the imprisonment. They have families, Rajdeep. They have people back them. Why should everybody suffer? If they have committed anything what was wrong, they were imprisoned for 14 long years. Now they are married, they have children, they have mothers, they are old parents. What do you want to do? What do you want them to do?
There will be those who will say life is life.
Don't you want them to live a normal life?
I want them to
Nobody is
express
celebrating.
remorse.
Nobody is celebrating. Kindly do.
Okay, you're saying no one is celebrating. I want them to express
Nobody
remorse.
is celebrating. They have the right to live a normal life.
Okay, they have the right to live a normal life. Final
They
word.
have absolutely right
Final
to
word
lead
to
a
you,
normal
Pawan
life,
Khera.
and the law has permitted them. That's it.
Pawan Khera, a final word, because you know there must come a time when our partisan politics must end. Nari Shakti is a great
Khera's
slogan.
party, they wanted Rajiv Gandhi's killer to be pardoned. They only went ahead and said, you know, they don't want the killers of Rahul Gandhi to be punished. So they, you know, selectively you cannot tell. They want the genius.
I don't want
to be
believe
pardoned.
me,
Okay.
believe me,
No,
Rajdeep, this is
selective
not
bias.
an issue where I would like to indulge into any tutu meme with anyone. This is a test for the soul of India. This is a test for each one of us. Now, if someone wants to say that we went for pardon of Rajiv Ji's killers, did Bilkis Bano request for these rapists to be given remission? So don't give me these stupid arguments. You are just exposing. No, please show some respect to Mother India. Forget everything else.
Now you
just don't argue. Please don't argue. You've lost. आप विश्व देख रहा है हिंदू परिषद क्या कर रहा है. बोलिए मत. आपको बोलने की औकात नहीं होनी चाहिए, हिम्मत नहीं होनी चाहिए. ये नारी शक्ति की बातें करते हैं आप. आपको शर्म आनी चाहिए इस तरह की बात टीवी पर आकर करने के लिए. ये अगर आपके परिवार में किसी के साथ हुआ होता, मैं देखता आपको कि कैसे बोलते हैं.
कब बंद करेंगे?
बोल सकते थे आप ऐसा. शर्म आनी चाहिए आपको कि मजहब देखते हो कि किसका रेप हुआ, उसका मजहब क्या है. अगर वो मुसलमान है तो आप मालाएं पहनाएंगे रेपिस्ट को. ये हालत बना दी आपने हिंदुस्तान की.
आप हिंदू मुसलमान
सीखिए, आप ललिता कुमार मंडल जी से सीखिए. वो भी भारतीय जनता पार्टी की हैं. हम कोई कांग्रेस की तरफ से नहीं बैठे हैं, कोई ये की तरफ से नहीं बैठे हैं. हम हिंदुस्तानी हैं, हमें भारत की चिंता है, हमारे अपने भविष्य की चिंता है, इसलिए यहाँ बैठे हैं.
Pawan Khera, whether someone is murdered, 1 minute, Sriraj, whether someone is murdered in 84, we've seen grisly communal riots in this country in 84, we saw it in 92 in Mumbai, we saw it in 2002 in Gujarat. Lots of innocents lost their lives. There were Sikh women who were similarly subject to horrifying incidents in 84, 92 in Mumbai and 2002. Let's be very clear.
Rajdeep,
anyone who
the
is
Prime
guilty,
Minister of India, Dr. Manmohan Singh, apologized to the Sikh
Let
community
us
and to the
be
nation. Let's not compare, please. It's a horrible thing to do, to compare my riot versus your riot. This is not what we are doing here. Yes. But look at the conduct of the then Prime Minister of India. The party Congress president
Sriraj, no.
Have you heard a single word of remorse from Narendra Modi, from Amit Shah? They released Maya Kodnani for God's sake. They released Babu Bajrangi for God's sake. And now these 11 rapists. What are you comparing, Rajdeep? Where is this comparison?
Let me leave it there. The last thing we need to do is compare one rape versus another rape, or one mass crime versus another. They are all horrific and they all deserve justice. Today it's Bilkis Bano, tomorrow it could be someone else. I ask society out there, we all outraged over what happened to Nirbhaya. Was it because it was in the heart of the national capital, that if something happens in a far out village in Gujarat, it will not attract the same anger? Or does identity matter? These are questions that you, the viewers, have to decide. Because we want an India that is safe for all women, where convicts are not feted in any manner or garlanded. We want an India where rapists are, it is ensured that there is deterrent of a kind that it is not repeated again. So think about that. Protests cannot be selective. Our outrage cannot be selective in cases like these. Think about it.